So welcome everyone, my name is Sofia Stolberg, I'm CEO and founder of Piloto 151, and today we have a stellar panel for you, talking about our entrepreneurship ecosystem, the accelerators and innovators that are making this happen. So first, I want to know from all of you, how many of you are entrepreneurs in the audience? Or aspiring entrepreneurs? Okay, so quite a few of you. I can't see much because of the lighting. But how many of you are investors or potential investors? Okay, not too many. And how many of you are mentors or potential mentors? All right, great. So this panel is going to be a bit different. We're going to be very interactive. So we have two runners, and you guys are going to ask the questions, and we're going to have the answers. So before we get on to the Q&A, we're going to start introducing our panelists, starting with Nelson. Nelson, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nelson Perea. I'm Executive Director of the Puerto Rico Techno-Economic Corridor, an economic development-based organization in the western Puerto Rico. We manage a couple of incubators, BTEC, and the Bioprocess Development and Training Complex, where we support and mentor entrepreneurs, mostly scientists and technology-driven entrepreneurs into incubation and development in the west coast of Puerto Rico.
Great, thank you. Ramphis.
Hey, morning. Oh, can you guys hear me right? Yeah, looks like. So my name is Ramphis Castro. I've been and still serial entrepreneur, community builder, investor. I'm the director, one of those hats. I'm a director for the Founder Institute, which is essentially an early stage, an idea stage, a global accelerator, 4-month founder training program. Operates in 1,400 cities. We have 3,300 mentors around the world and around 200 directors. And I'm also a common fellow with Expansive Ventures, which is a network-based early stage fund based out of Palo Alto, which essentially invests in Founder Institute companies around the world.
Great. Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura Cantero. I'm Executive Director of Grupo Guayacán, and Guayacán is a local nonprofit focused on developing Puerto Rico's entrepreneurial ecosystem. We've been working with a private equity fund of funds for the past 18 years, and about 10 years ago, we started to develop entrepreneurial development programs in Puerto Rico because we thought we could help stimulate the deal flow in order for these private equity or venture capital companies to invest in Puerto Rican companies. So we have Enterprise, which is our startup competition. It's been going on for 10 years, and we've seen about 1,800 startups in the 10 years. And we also have the Guayacán Venture Accelerator, which is a program for more mature companies that are looking to accelerate their business model, mostly to go to markets outside of Puerto Rico. And I'm also happy to announce that in January, we'll be kicking off I-Corps Puerto Rico in collaboration with the Georgia Institute of Technology and the National Science Foundation. So it's great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Nerma.
Hi, good morning. My name is Nerma Albertorio. I am Startup Weekend organizer here in Puerto Rico and founder of Centro para Emprendedores, an organization that have a unique coaching program for people that wants to be an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. All right, you heard from our panel. Now we want to hear from you. First question. I can't see from up here, so you'll have to help me out. Where are our runners? Over here. All right, no microphones. One. Yes.
Okay, so if I am a first year in college in Mayagüez, and I have one idea, and I have no idea where to start, what do I do?
Okay, you heard that.
Great question.
First year, Colegio de Mayagüez. Where do I start?
I'll jump in and I'll let Nelson finish up because he's not based on the West Coast. But I've been collaborating with the university for a while now. I've been collaborating with the university for a while now. But if you're first year, first thing you should do is essentially present yourself to the community through at least one of the Facebook groups, right? So either Startup After Hours first, and then subscribe to the Startup Digest, which essentially gives out weekly rundown of all the different events that are going on, so that you know what's going on and you get reached out. That's the kind of very first thing, just that kind of reach out to the community, that community exists, and then present yourself to events, essentially communicate as best as you can what it is that you want to do.
Yes, that's a very easy question. We have a program in UPR in Mayagüez. It's called Innovación Colegial, where you can start right away from the inside of the university. There's a couple centers in business administration, and more recently, a lot of support from the engineering school to mentor, to support students with ideas for businesses. And there's an ecosystem inside of the university, and there's an ecosystem outside of the university. So those ecosystems work closely together there in Mayagüez, and we have, as I said, the incubator, BTEC, where right away you can start being part of a co-working experience, or if you already have a couple of guys that are working with you, a bigger space, we have mentors, we have connections with the other programs around the island. We support the groups in participating in events like Enterprise and other competitions around the island. So you have a lot of support and all of places that can guide you in that process in Mayagüez.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like there are a lot of events going on in the ecosystem, and the first thing you should do is get familiarized with the startup and tech community and the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So, more questions from the audience. Who's next? All right, you.
Hi, my name is Robert Girao. I have a website, Puerto Rico Beach Properties. My question is for you to pay attention or to listen to a potential project. What kind of a profit, or what are the more important things you like to see on a project?
Well, by far the most important thing is to make sure that you're solving a real problem, and essentially that you sort of showcase through customers, that there's a real problem, and that you know who they are, and then that the solution actually solves their problem. And then essentially you have your business model canvas. I think it's been kind of gone over at some point. And then your business model canvas that you essentially kind of have achieved, depending on what stage of investor you're engaging with or what program, et cetera, where you're at, you would have different levels. They may require different levels of validation. So for example, for the Founder Institute, you can go in without an idea, without a team, nothing. Right, literally no entrepreneurship experience at all. We use a predictive admissions test that essentially gauges your entrepreneurship DNA. It's used worldwide in over 100 cities around the world to select entrepreneurs that have no entrepreneurship experience, and that's the sort of main basis for admissions to the program. And afterwards, throughout the 4 months, they essentially kind of polish. We polish that and kind of make you into the entrepreneur you are going to be. Anyways, we just make that faster.
What kind of people do you look for in enterprise and GVA, for example, Laura?
I would also say that it depends on the stage. That's why it varies in our different programs. But for example, in the I-Core program that we're launching in January, we need at least 2 people, because it's been found that the team is a very important component to the success of your venture. And while we understand that in the beginning stages you might not have all the people there, part of what I think is a common thread in all our programs is that we'll help you complement your team in the way that you need it. So we have experienced group of mentors and people like that can come in and be a part of your team. But I think that the people aspect is perhaps in my list second to the customer aspect. I mean, once you're sure that you have an idea that is solving someone's problem and that someone's going to buy this when you develop this, then tell us why you are the right people to move this forward.
Okay, how about you, Nerma?
We work, when people come to us and they have the idea, we work first with them. How is your decision-making process? How is what kind of resources you have, if you have capital or if you don't, or what access do you have, and we make like an inventory of what is your status. And based on that, we began working with the idea or the project, and work first with the validation process, and when we find that we have a market, then we go all through the capital thing and the coaching program.
And for Startup Weekend, what do you look for?
For Startup Weekend, first we look for the experience. A lot of people want to be an entrepreneur or dreams to have a business, but they don't act on it. And they have like this great fear to do that because they feel alone, or we feel that if you're going to start a business, like you're like a crazy people, and that's not correct. So Startup Weekend is an experience and is a way to see that you can build something in 54 hours. And when people go through that experience and they realize that you can come in on Friday and on Sunday have something to share and something real, it's like a life-changing experience. So then the process is more easy because you have then the mindset to do other things.
Awesome. Nelson, you want to talk about what it takes to be in your incubator in PR Tech?
Yes, in case of us, what we see through the years is that a lot of the prospects that come to us, they're like very early in their process of defining what they want to do. So we start, talking to them and giving them assignments just to make sure that they really understand what they want to do and that the idea is the right one. So that's like a conversation initially, making sure that you know what you want to do, that you have the pieces, and eventually once we go through that process, then we start working with you as a formal part of the incubation program.
Okay, great. More questions from the audience. We have 20 minutes of this, so over here, Dana.
You all know me. One of my questions is, I think a lot of startups go to, when they want advice, they go to traditional business people. And maybe sometimes that's good, maybe there's a value to it, maybe there's not. What is the balance of, what is the role of traditional business people in helping startups, and what is not their role in helping startups? What are the pitfalls that a startup might make by going and seeking advice from people in traditional business?
I think that's a great question. Let's start over here. And let's also add on to that. How can you find a mentor if you want to start up in Puerto Rico?
I'll take a crack at that. Dana, thanks for the question. I think that what we found in Guayacán is that there's definitely a space for the traditional people, or business people, but it's more from a service provider perspective. So, once you've worked on your business model and you've started to execute on it, going back to Carlos' earlier point about actually getting things done, then these business people can come in and provide things like legal advice. For example, I think that intellectual property lawyers have been great to the startups that have worked at Guayacán, and also the whole gamut from accounting to marketing to the more traditional fields. So what we decided to do is to build a platform so that after people go through our competition, we give them a year of extra support. And of course, Guayacán continues to give them workshops and access to mentors and the like, but these service providers do come in at that second stage after the competition. And regarding mentors, I think that there's been sort of a shift. We also ask the teams to come in with the mentors that they might have, and recently what we've seen is that that's the more difficult thing to achieve, to go in with a mentor already identified. So what we've done is really capitalize on our network, and some of them are traditional business people, but others aren't. And then try to match them up, the groups with the mentors. And in terms of characteristics which you were asking, Sofia, I would say that you have to have some technical expertise or some sort of expertise that the entrepreneur feels that he or she doesn't have. Because actually, I was reading something about mentorship versus coaching the other day, and one of the things that was being said is, mentorship is about the relationship. It's not about necessarily one specific task. So what you want to do is be able to bring these people together for them to form a long-term relationship that is focused on the development of the entrepreneur, not to just get something done and then bye-bye. So I think that's my take on it.
I think that mentorship doesn't cancel coaching. It's like, it's a complement. So in the coaching process, you guide people to find their own answers. You don't get the answers for them. So in order to develop the entrepreneurial skills, you have to have a coach. Because if you are a sportsman, you need a coach to make your best. So in this arena, you need a coach too that help you find your own questions and your own answers. And in the programs that helps entrepreneurs, you have to be very careful because entrepreneurs does not need consultants. They need people that guide them and ask the right questions for them to look for the answers. Right. And I think that is a very important difference.
Yes. Absolutely. Can you talk about the mentors of the Founder Institute?
Quick comment. Well, on the Founder Institute, essentially, every mentor has to have been or is currently a CEO of their own company, right? So we don't have, and you can't be a mentor as a consultant, or you have a consulting business. That's great, but that doesn't qualify you as being as a mentor, global mentor in our program. So that's in terms of our mentors. So all of our mentors have been there. All of our mentors have been there, done that. They're not going to tell you about how to do accounting. They're going to tell you how they run their accounting globally and how they pick their CFO. They're not going to tell you how to do marketing. They're going to tell you how they've, all the mistakes they've made as a marketer in different channels, depending on everything. Because on 3,300 mentors, we literally have a mentor that has done something that you might want to have done or might want to do. So that's on the mentor front. On the balance, to answer kind of Dana's question, I think it takes a village to build a startup. Right, and I think Startup Weekend is where you meet the village and enterprise and others. And what you want from a sort of quote unquote traditional business might be very helpful. Their network. So maybe they're just I guess like a manager at a very big firm here in Puerto Rico. That sort of doesn't qualify them as an entrepreneur or CEO. But they might know someone else that does. And they can help you with some of the traditional things. Common mistakes that you can make. So that's important. And then if you're a tech startup or a startup in general, what you want is someone that doesn't have to be this superstar mentor, just someone that has sort of a little bit ahead of you, that has made a lot of the mistakes that you're going to make, and make sure that you have an ongoing conversation with as many of these guys as you can, and there are a ton in the startup community here in Puerto Rico.
Great. All right, next question. Stephanie.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to know, yesterday we were speaking about it is very important for you to look at different models and start reading different books in regards to different models for entrepreneurship. So I was wondering if each one of you can recommend a book for us to educate ourselves more about this ecosystem and what to do.
That is a great question, and let me just add to that. Let's also talk about the difference between incubators and accelerators, briefly.
So I think you should go to Startup Weekend. I don't think you should read any books. I think entrepreneurship is a full contact sport. You're not gonna learn about it in any book. There are some things that books are useful for in terms of frameworks and other stuff. But if you're gonna start. Don't read anything. Go to a conference and say go start. And start at a Startup Weekend because these are very low risk. It's a weekend. You're committed Friday, Sunday. You get deluge of everything you need to know. You actually experience what you need to do, and then you can say, well, you know what? I totally fucked up on this thing. So let's. I need a marketing, inbound marketing. What is that? I want to dig deeper on something. But in terms specifically on books, there's I think the best book. It's How to Build a Startup by Professor Steve Blank, which is what I wish I had when I started my first companies, which is essentially as best as you can, sort of step by step on how to build a startup.
Great.
And I would also say that, you can hear me, but I would also say that a lot of the tools, the common tools that we use in the different programs actually came from a book somewhere. So I would agree with Ramphis that when you go and you experience it and you touch it and you know what the business model canvas is about and you learn about customer discovery, then maybe after it's a good time to go back to the original book and reference. And a lot of these authors like Steve Blank have developed further books. You know, they've expanded on the content for each of the specific areas. So I would recommend the Business Model Canvas and Steve Blank and Alexander Osterwalder and all of these people that have worked on actually developing tools for entrepreneurs. And then also Bill Owlett was talking about yesterday how his book came to be because he just grabbed little things that had worked for him and put them on in a sequential order. So I think that there are tools out there, but there's nothing like going there and spending a weekend and getting to know these tools because you're using them and not reading them.
Great. So can we clarify the difference between an accelerator and an incubator for the benefit of our audience?
On incubator and accelerator, the short version, generally the incubator is generally a space, provides space and water, internet, all that stuff for you to kind of build out your company. An accelerator is focused on accelerating you, right? So the incubator can have some of those services, support, and they might have contacts with mentors and a lot of different programs and services, but that's not necessarily the primary focus. An accelerator is focused on essentially the trajectory you're going, if you're going like this way, to take you, sort of that way. And the way they do that is generally they either provide a little bit of funding, just a little bit, so it's just you don't starve, and then provides a ton of mentors, right? And mentors and some kind of structure that makes sure that you're moving forward and making progress. With the idea that you're getting as ready as you can for a demo day for investors, if that's kind of your trajectory, is that you're going to be able to kind of fundraise, you're going to be headed in that general direction.
Okay. In our experience managing an incubator for 13 years, it's been that basically an incubator looks at and works with a lot of people that are just starting, that either have an idea or a basic prototype of a product or a service, and you need to guide them through all the initial steps to make sure that eventually they have really a good value proposition and to be ready to be part then of an accelerator program. So in an incubator, traditionally you have the physical space, but also you take care of more initial steps in your startups, making sure that you have a strong foundation and you have the right idea to eventually be ready for the next step.
Okay, great. So did that answer your question? Get it done, and then there's a pipeline. Incubator first, later accelerator. Over here.
Hi everyone, my name is Alan Wagner, and I'm Puerto Rican, but I've been out in the States for college, and now I'm working over there. And I'm wondering, how do you see the interaction between all of the Puerto Rican entrepreneurs that are here and the Puerto Rican entrepreneurs that are out in the States, and what do you think we can do to make that interaction a bit stronger and so we can work together and help each other out?
So that's
Great question. Diaspora question over here. How do we leverage our diaspora to help our entrepreneurs grow and get access to other markets?
So that's an amazing question. That's actually the question that keeps me up at night. That's really what I work on and spend most of my time in, is just trying to figure out how to make everybody that's physically sort of not here just a part of the community. And what you guys pulled off in Boston, so they've actually put on an entrepreneurship forum out at MIT, and they had the Puerto Ricans at MIT put this on, fly out, and just ask, hey, could you guys fly out? It's like, yeah, like, where do you need us? We'll sort of be there. So we need sort of more of those, right? It'd be great if we could have every single, Ivy League or private or whatever university that has Puerto Rican related organization to set this one up, right? And have us commit, and I'm actually, I can commit, like right now, that if any student organization does what the MIT guys did, we'll be there, right? So we'll connect with the students on that front. And then on the entrepreneur side, we just need to have them reach out. So a lot of them have reached out of the stuff that's going on. So we need more international coverage for people to know, so that we can connect. Because what's happened is that there's stuff that goes out and people reach out, and then we sort of connect them out through what's going on locally. And that's really growing really fast. So I get inbound, maybe 3-4 a day, and kind of send that out to different people, and people kind of move, and people leave and move. So it's just very fluid, the in and out of talent. So yeah, that's like an entire other topic, but that's some of the key things I think could really help.
I think we are working with developing that culture, because we are like we always look for within and not outside. And connecting with the diaspora is like a long possibility, like a faraway possibility, and somehow we are like seeing that more closer, and events like this and working with developing that kind of mindset is now happening. So why don't we have like 1,000 people here? So we are kind of working with that.
Okay, so action item for all of you out there. If you know any friends that are in the diaspora that could somehow help the ecosystem here, help other entrepreneurs scale, reach other markets, get new customers, get investment, please connect them with the ecosystem, any one of our panelists here. So I think we have room for about one more question, and then we're going to go to key takeaways.
So one quick comment on the diaspora is I really kind of don't like kind of that word, because they just happen to be somewhere else, right? Because the way kind of diaspora is used is that someone is over there, we're over here. We interact, by we, mean the kind of startup community, we interact every day with people that are outside. So we have like Yamil here, Aldo, and others, and they just are as much as part of the community as everybody else. And there are a lot of people like that already. New York, Boston, Silicon Valley. You can go pretty much anywhere and you say, hey, I'm going out somewhere, and there'll be Puerto Ricans doing companies, working at companies. So there just happen to be somewhere else, and that's the shift has to be more around everybody's online. Like everybody's online right now, and it's just 4 hours away from New York. We're 7 hours from Silicon Valley. It probably feels farther away to go to Maya West than to go to New York, I mean, psychologically. So just clarify that.
Awesome point. We're all part of the same community. Okay, 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap up. Over here, sir.
Good morning. You're right. These guys are just Puerto Ricans who are living in a different city, like Maya West or Ponce. It actually takes longer to get to Maya West than to get to Miami, so what's the difference? Right. Anyway, hi Alan. I have a question regarding the availability of resources for hardware startups. I see a significant, it is much easier to start a software startup, and that's true in general, but in Puerto Rico is particularly difficult because of the lack of resources for people who want to start a hardware business or a hardware startup. Can you guys comment on that, please?
We just went through this with Kai Labs, right? So they started as a hardware company, and they're right now finishing up their tour of duty at Alpha Lab Gears in Pittsburgh, because we don't have enough hardware mentors locally in the island. And I mentioned hardware mentors, not that in terms of couldn't you build out a hardware company based out of Puerto Rico? You can, but the mentor side is very, very hard, because hardware is, there's specifics that are different, right? It's not the same as you can just sort of prototype. Well, there are reasons why it's different. We can get to that later. But the point is that there's way more going on now that happened before, right? So you have industrial design companies that can help, Fab Labs coming up. I don't know if you have a hackerspace out on the West Coast, but I know there's one in like Rio Piedras. So there's now a community for makers that didn't exist before. They have tons of experience. The Laboratorio Laura Diseñado, LED, started by Jeffrey. Jeffrey Concepcion, who started that, is now in Pittsburgh, finishing his PhD in hardware and art sort of design. So there's stuff online that's in the community that is worth for you guys to kind of reach out that we didn't have before. And now we obviously have companies like Kai Labs and others that have absolutely every single hardware mentor you could imagine. Plus, obviously, with the Founder Institute, we have any mentor you can kind of sort of want in your wish list. So there are resources that you have now that we didn't have before, and I'm sure that'll get better as more people try to do hardware startups because they can do Kickstarters and other things.
Yeah, in our case, we basically started up being an incubator to basically facilitate the outcomes of research being done in UPR in Mayagüez. And a lot of stuff at that point in time was hardware, a lot of electronics and devices. And it's been the experience through the years that I would say like 50% of our incubes and our projects that we support there in the incubator are kind of hardware related, and the other half are more software. So in our case, we've been built from the very beginning to be able to support hardware projects in BTech.
Okay, fantastic. So there are more resources now than before, and if you can't find them here, we can connect you with people that can stateside. All right, one final question over here, and then we're going to go to key takeaways and wrap this up. Well, we'll do the two of you because you had the microphone, and then yeah, it's fine.
Good morning. My name is Andres from comprafrescabr.com, online supermarket. I suggest everyone take a look at it. I have a question. When will you guys elaborate?
That's entrepreneurship.
When would you guys elaborate can you elaborate of when should someone, or if you're going in a startup, when is the right time, if there is a right time, that you should go look maybe for an angel investor, a VC, or just some other type of, financial.
All right, great question.
I think that's a very tough question because it very much depends on the startup and on the business model and why you're looking for investors. I mean, we saw at the startup showcase yesterday morning, we spoke a little bit about that because there were startups pitching with specific numbers in mind. And what was funny is that the feedback that they got from the judges who were investors themselves, some of them was like, oh no, you're asking for too much, or you're asking for too little, or why are you not taking this further? So I think that you can't really answer that, but it's been our experience that for example, the people who go through Enterprise, which is the business plan competition, get seed capital from Guayacan. So seed capital from us is more similar to what it would be from an angel investor. And that's just money to get you going to the next phase of developing your company. But then the people that go through the Guayacan Venture Accelerator are much more mature companies, and they vary in length of time that they've been operating, from 3 years to 30 years. But they're just at different stages, and those people, we've seen that because they're looking to accelerate their businesses and go outside of Puerto Rico, they are ready to talk to VCs or private equity firms. So I think that Randy Thompson, who's speaking later on, has a very interesting take on what that pipeline of funding looks for us here in Puerto Rico, and there's a little bit of a lag. I think that most startups benefit from some bootstrapping from friends and family, seed capital from organizations like Guayacan, and then just angels to get it going, but it's not a very concrete answer.
It depends on what you want. What do you want of your company? What is your plan? You want to go global, you want to stay at the stage that you are. So it's very important that you are clear in your road, because for some people, staying at one stage is good, it's excellent. And for other people, they want to take out the world. So it depends. So it's not like a perfect formula for everyone. There is not a formula. And it's going to be a process of trying and setbacks and go and forward. And it's not perfect.
I'll just sort of change your question, kind of challenge you on what I think will be most helpful to you is just to think about is there are two ways for how that kind of works. One is relationships, right? You know these people, they know you over years, they know your track record, they know who you are, and the other is traction, right? So if you don't know any investor, you know anybody, and they don't know how to get to anybody or whatever, you have to make sure that your product is awesome. People are flying off the shelves or the app store, whatever it is, and then you're very aligned with whoever it is that you're going to try to have a relationship with. And those two are the things to kind of think about, and we can kind of deep dive offline about it. But relationships and traction.
Okay, that final question over here, because you had the microphone at first. and then we'll wrap up.
All right, quick question. A lot of people, I just want to know, what will be the requirement for a company to be in an incubator or an accelerator program, and what will be the common deal that these companies will get being part of an incubator or accelerator program?
Okay, so very quickly, let's start with Nelson over here. Yes, what's the deal?
The deal is that being in incubator, you get a few things that are beneficial to you. For example, in terms of space, you get some space, and it's very cheap space, and either you have it as a co-working relationship or a more formal space for your project. But that's only the physical part. Then the value added it's on the contacts that you make there, the synergy with other companies that are there. You start mingling in the kitchenette, in the networking activities. You get to know a lot of people. We do a lot of conferences, a lot of networking events, and then the day-to-day mentoring of our staff and our board of advisors, our mentors. I mean, there's a lot of value added in being related to a formal program like
So Nelson, what is the deal? Do you take equity? Do you have to pay to get into your incubator? What do entrepreneurs have to do?
In our case,
do you get chosen?
In our case, you just have to pay a fee for the rent, and that covers all the other value added services.
What's the fee?
The fee depends on
depends
the space.
On the entrepreneur?
It's
variable?
From $6 to $9 per square feet.
$6 to $9 per square feet. What's the deal with Founder Institute? How much do you pay?
Sure.
What do entrepreneurs get?
Sure. So the Founder Institute, it's at a DSD stage. So people come. The way they're selected is based on a predictive admissions test. They don't pay anything for the test. If they go to an outreach event, on average it's $35, $50, and they don't pay anything for that. And the application fee is around $50. They also don't pay anything for that if they go in. So the point is, go to an event, you don't pay anything for applying for the program. And then if you're within like around 25% of people that actually have the qualities that we look for, then you get accepted into the program, and they end up paying $900 to participate. And they put in 3.5% equity into the program that's shared in between everybody that's participating in it. It's just, and then in the end, the top 5 companies for this cohort, for example, they get up to $25,000 in between cash and cash equivalents actually going to an event. So this year's companies, they get around $10,000 plus. They get all expenses for participating in on the floor at South by and a Silicon Valley Investor Showcase that we're putting on. So we cover all of that stuff for them. So that's a fun institute.
Okay. Enterprise and GPA.
For Guayacan Enterprise, there's no cost to participate, and you have the opportunity to compete for seed capital, as I was saying before. So this year we'll be giving a grand prize of $20,000, and then other prizes that are $10,000 each. For GBA, there's a cost of $7,000 per company, but that includes 3 people per company. And remember, that's not for startups, but for the more mature companies. And the I-Core program that we're launching in January is also free. So
free. Okay. Any costs associated with Centro para Emprendedores?
Centro para Emprendedores, we charge a very small fees that goes from $100 to $50. In some cases, when the projects are more complex, we take some equity, like 3%, but there's not in every case. And for the requirements to work with us is that you have 100% engagement in your project, because we have a team that is 100% committed to work with you to be successful.
Okay, fantastic. Now we're going to do key takeaways. Each of you has 10 seconds to give a message to either entrepreneurs, mentors, investors, or all 3. So let's start with you, Nerma.
Message: no talk, all action. Let's do it. You have an ecosystem right here ready to support you.
Awesome. Laura.
I would say there's no better time to be an entrepreneur in Puerto Rico. This ecosystem that you are seeing here did not exist 5-10 years ago. And we all run separate organizations, but we're making an effort to work together to make sure that we put the best tools out there for you. So we're here. Come and see us. We would love to help you.
Fantastic. Ramphis.
Start right? It's just start is the single most important thing. And second, if you are not going to start, be a connector and help the others that are going to start, and the guys that actually started, help them. And figure out how you can be helpful, be it with connections or support or whatever. So connect and start.
Great. Nelson.
Yeah, well, we are just facilitators here, so we cannot facilitate if there's no projects and there's no people like you coming to us. So please come and make us work.
Okay, fantastic. I'm Sofia Stolberg, CEO of Piloto 151. Let's give it up for this rockstar panel.